welcome to episode 256 of the FReality Podcast. There's a funny odor rising from this box in my hands, and it smells like new electronics.
Okay.
Brand new.
Not like
Scared where
fish.
that was going.
What an intro. So brand new electronics just out of the factory. For anyone who's unboxed a headset or ever whiffed a facial interface for pleasure, you'll know that feeling. It's when it's here. It's finally here. And today, we prime you for what's to come in VR. With today's lineup, old man rock band Linkin Park goes through reconstructive surgery on its vocal cords. We air our excitement for VR and AR's gathering, Meta Connect coming fast at us later this month. Zim and Rowdy get vocal about pixel prowess by reopening a classic gamer debate on RTSs. Then we'll speak about a dramatic display that's coming with BOE's new display technology. And HTC will be spinning the turntable once again, as we've got a new VIVE around the corner. And with due care, I was going to say Jose, but Jose's down due to a power outage. So we'll figure out, maybe Rowdy will conduct some ever so gentle operations on our brainstems before leading the tribal choir in a rain dance, praying for crucial releases in the weeks ahead. With that, it's time for our crew highlights. Adam, you were absent last episode, so first, thanks for the video postcard. That was great. How was Gamescom?
Oh god, it was so great. Like it's kind of ruined other conventions for me now though. And not just the amount of like regular flat game stuff, but the VR section that was there, even though it wasn't, like I said, in a public area. But I argue that's kind of nice because then you could get away from the crowds and you could kind of be with your people and when you needed a break. And the bar just kept giving free waters and free coffee and tea and Fantas, which was great. But yeah, it's kind of ruined other conventions for me now. I'm just gonna look at the other ones like, you're not Gamescom. What is this tiny convention?
It looks literally enormous. I've never been, but it looks huge.
There's halls, but there's multiple sections to each halls. There's like Hall 11A and Hall 11B. Like the multiple floors to each hall. So there's frequently many times where I got lost and trying to get back, and my feet are killing me, and it's just so
you do a lot
crowded.
of walking, right? Yeah.
Yes, and sometimes they redirect traffic because you have some people trying to go up escalators, some down. So sometimes they'll send one flow like outside the building to go around in a weird way. But I will say, at least I feel like for Gamescom they're very used to crowds and they're very familiar with it. Like even though we have a lot of big conventions in the States too, they just seem to be like, oh well, there's crowds, it's gonna suck. Like they don't really do anything about it, and it's very frustrating to me now. I'm like, look, at least they were doing stuff to try to mitigate. Why do we suck so much here?
Yeah, I found PAX East was a bit like that. It was like, okay, there's seas of people, and I know it's going to take me half hour just to get over to that escalator over there. It's not great. But hey, good old German ingenuity and orderliness. Appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate that. I was going to ask you the question if your feet hurt after it, but you answered that already. So.
Oh yeah, my feet hurt. I got sick, of course, but that's not surprising considering the amount of people that were there and being in close proximity and sharing headsets and touching keyboards and mice and stuff. So I kind of figured, but I didn't have anything major. It was just like a cold that had weird different symptoms every day. It would change. Like I would go one day, I feel like super dehydrated, I need to drink a lot, and then the next day I would go from hot to cold, and then the next day I started having a cough. But it was like different every day. It was very strange, but
it's like getting wide spectrum inoculation. Then you got like 16 different illnesses all at once. That's probably great because then it sorts you out for the rest of the year because you've had your European sampler.
There we go. At least I was functional though. Like I wasn't so sick that I felt like I couldn't work. I mean, I do work remotely at home, so that also helps. I could kind of pace myself better.
Even the illnesses in Europe are less hard, right?
In the States, probably.
True.
I'm so tempted to move to Europe now. Like everything's just so much better. It's like, I don't know, everything's nice. Well, not everything. I know it depends on where you are in Europe, but there's so many nice walkable cities. Like hardly anyone has cars or needs driver's licenses because the public transportation is so good and widely used.
Oh, we need to
Food
have
is
a. Oh,
healthier.
okay,
I
well,
know,
I mean,
I know.
let's
There's
not
a wake-up
start on the
call here
public
about
transportation here.
public transportation. Yeah. And then, yeah, public transportation is not the same, is it, Rowdy? Over this side of the pond, it's
No.
not the
I
same at
mean,
all.
for me, it's way better than it was in Belgium. Like in Belgium, public transportation is optional,
Mm.
not for the travelers,
That's
but
how
for
it
the
is here.
people driving.
So what have you been up to since being back, or has it mostly just been recovery then?
No, I've been still getting into VR. I've been playing a rhythm game called Taiko Frenzy, which is like like I know we're all kind of exhausted on like, oh god, another rhythm game, but this one is taiko drums, and so it's a nice little like classical cultural take on it, which is it's so cute. I've really been enjoying that one a lot. It's just taiko drums, and you need
I
to.
saw you mentioned that on
Yeah.
socials. Is that like an old flat gaming IP that they brought to VR, or is it a brand new IP?
I don't think it's flat, but it's been on Steam
Okay.
since May, or it was on Steam before Quest. Like the Quest release was very recent, but I don't think it was flat before, but I could be wrong. And then there's a game that I'm. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there's a drum game. I think we got it on Switch, which is very colorful. It's got like old orchestral stuff from like Mozart, and then it's got kind of modern, pop Japanese artists and stuff. And it's a really decent game. But like doing that with like Switch controllers, like I know they're pretty accurate. Like I thought Switch was really neat when it came out, but like you're like it just needs motion controls. Like it just bring this to VR. It would be so much more accurate. So I don't know. Maybe that's something that I need to go try out then. What was it called? Tycho? Tyco?
Taiko Frenzy.
Tycho Frenzy.
Yeah. On Quest and on Steam. And then besides that one, there's one I haven't tried yet that I'm looking forward to trying this weekend.
What's that?
I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe we mentioned it. It's called Living Room. That's the one that has all the little island ecosystems and the really derpy animals. And so you basically unlock different species and you could breed them and stuff. I'll post a link in chat because it looks really cute. I'm a sucker for different mixed reality games, and especially ones that involve cute derpy animals. So
Yeah,
I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know if I like it, but I'm looking forward to it.
it sounds good. It sounds a lot like maybe not a lot like Garden of the Sea, but it kind of it would scratch a similar itch for me probably.
Yeah.
The breeding aspect is fun, all right. As a guy with 3 kids, but yeah, it's animal games are fun. Like whether it's pets or little ecosystems, and I feel like they tend to go undersung for some reason. Like I still feel like Garden of the Sea gets like not the applause that it should have gotten. It's such a wonderful
Such a
IP.
good game.
It
Yeah.
feels like Nintendo brought, I don't know, Animal Crossing or something. Like it really feels established. It doesn't feel like a first time. So for anyone who hasn't seen that, I know I'm a fan of it. Adam, I think you're a fan of that as well.
Yes.
And this new one is called what again?
Living Room.
Living Room.
Like living room, get it? Because it's still a room that has living.
Is it an MR game then, or is it just VR?
Yeah, mixed reality. I don't know if there's also a VR mode too, but it's primarily touted as MR. But you know what we need? A Viva Pinata in VR. That would be sick. God, I loved that game too. Did you ever play that? Viva Pinata?
The one with the maracas? Or wait, no, I think
No, that's no. Viva Pinata was
that's Samba something or other.
Viva Pinata, you had to have certain things in your area to be able to bring out different species of pinatas. They would like be different animals and stuff. But
was it
yeah.
what was it, like a pass-through game on a
No,
camera phone, or
it was a flat game. This was like older, what was it, Xbox or something? Like original X.
So what do you mean by
360?
like things in your area? Is this using like an iToy, or is it just a flat game with like I don't understand your comment.
So each pinata would have certain requirements in order for it to appear in your yard. Like you'd have to get certain types of food or candy or toys or whatever. So you'd have to figure out how to grow those things. And it was an animal game that had progression, which I feel like is kind of rare for those. Usually it's like animal game, you pet the animal, brush the animal, and then it's like, okay, I did the things, what now? But this one actually had progression, which was really nice. I would love to see that in VR, but who knows?
Bumping these two amorphous animals together. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Oh, Hurry up. Yeah, it's like what I call like BOGO level depth. It's like skin deep. You can do an interaction with a pet and then that's it. It stops there. Like the fun doesn't go any further. We were talking about that amazing, what's it even called? Something in the wall? No, not Wolves in the Walls. I can't remember anything anymore. God damn, I don't know. I'm just too old now. So I'm just gonna stop there, and I'm just gonna say that MR games are cool. I'm glad that
Okay.
studios are trying them because I think out the gates last year, Quest 3 felt a little bit like needing applause. Like it needed software. It was like, oh, what am I gonna do with this whole MR thing? But the quality really is decent enough, you know. So we'll see how that goes. Sounds like we're getting a little bit desynced again this time. That's fine. It's probably just a processing thing. You guys are gonna have to put up with it. Apologies. And if you're listening back to the audio, then you don't have to deal with that at all. You don't get to see our pretty faces. So with that, I'm gonna flip it over to Pancake Master Rowdy. Rowdy, what you up to?
I've been well. There's two things that I think that I'd like to highlight here. Is first, I started watching. There's two series that I watched. I mean, there's basically two series the only series I still watch is The Boys. I finally watched like their new season. Really enjoying that. And then the other one that recently got a few more episodes was the Rings of Power, which has been a lot of controversy around the first season.
Is that Lord of the
which is-
Rings or what is
yeah,
that?
it's the Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
kind of like the series. I don't know. I mean, my bar for watching these kind of things is often very low. I like that there's Lord of the Rings stuff. I remember when they came out with the movies, I was completely smitten by it, and I started reading all the books, and I found it amazing. So having now a series that kind of goes further into that world, and you see familiar characters, I like that.
Wait
I know
a
there's a lot
second.
of-
Wait a
ahead.
second. You said something there that we got to dive into. Did you watch the films for Lord of the Rings first before the book?
Yeah, I was like, whoa, how old was I
did
when
the
I came
same.
out?
Wow.
14?
Wow.
15?
Wow. I've
Those
never
are
met
big
someone.
books. Like if you were to look at those just in a bookstore, you'd be
You've
like,
never
I
met
don't think
someone
so.
who's seen the films and hasn't read the books?
I've never discussed with someone this topic. I just don't talk to young people, obviously. I'm
I
just
think
sitting
there's
back
far
in my
more people who
rocking
have
chair.
seen. Yeah, I
But
think
no,
there's
I
far
like
more people that have
I
seen the
struggled as
films.
a.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure that's true now. I don't think you're an oddity. It's the first time I've actually had this conversation. I've been waiting for 20 years to have this conversation, and I find it really interesting. So, what did you find that to be like then? Because you're going into the book with those characters already drawn in your head. So, like, was it okay? Did it work out?
Um, yeah, I mean, I started. I remember when the first movie came out. It was after that I started reading all the books. So I kind of knew a little bit more about it, I think. Um, but I mean, like the way that your imagination works is a funny thing, right? You know, you start coloring these kind of characters in some kind of way and form, and indeed, if you watch the movie, then you have a certain idea of them. But I think what the movie did so well was like to capture the essence of those characters so well that I think it just makes a lot of
Cool.
sense for that to continue.
So I'm keen to hear about your series thing, but I also have this itch to kind of grab my tome. I'm going to show you the book I read when I was 15. I'll be right back. You keep
Okay.
going, Rowdy.
All right, yeah,
let people know
that's
for
cool.
the show.
But yeah, I think that the series is a fun thing to watch. Again, I don't watch it with a very critical eye. I know that there are people who are die-hard Lord of the Rings fans, and even though I really like the books in the series, and I'm a huge fan of reading fantasy in general, I'm just happy to see that there's stuff out there that I can watch. I
Yeah.
think
How
that is
many
the main
seasons?
thing.
How many
It's
seasons
just
are
two
out right now?
seasons now. It's just
Okay.
two seasons right now. Yeah, so the
Like,
first
catch up.
season has been released last year, I think, or is it 2 years already? Yeah, I think it's 2 years already. And then this season there's episodes coming out now. So it's not the full season yet, but there's like the first 3 episodes were released and a couple of days ago, the fourth one. And I think there's 2 more coming.
Okay.
So yeah, they're being released.
And so where does it slot into the storyline then?
Yeah, so it's basically the like I think it's called the third era, but it's basically after the first time that Sauron has been defeated, and he it's about the Rings of Power when he starts to like he's just defeated Melkor, which is like the arch enemy of the first era, I think. And then you have he came to a rise of power, and he kind of got destroyed by his own underlings, by a dark elf who took his place, and that's how that's the story where it kind of sets in. The first season is really about that part where you don't really know who Sauron is yet, where he is. We know that he's around somewhere, so you have that character that gets developed, and in the second season it's about Sauron, making the actual rings power or Celebrimbor.
Now, have we had any? I think this is where we would need Jose to chime in. I know he's there in chat. I think there was a location-based experience for Lord of the Rings at one point, pushing one of the films. I think. Anyway, the thing I went to fetch, I just wanted to show. Well, Adam was like, "Oh, it's a big book, don't you know?" Yeah, I fucking know. This thing is like heavy, right? And the funny thing is, like, I picked this up when I was like 16, 17 for all of what looks to be about 19, must have been Irish pounds at the time. But like, I'd be there, like, you start off, right? And you're there in bed. And this thing is like, when you're tired anyway, and you're like, this is the motivator, because you hold this brick above you, and Zim's weak, like, scrawny pasta arms are holding it, and then you'd be tired enough that it would like hit you in the face.
You do know that these are 3 books in one, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You could have gotten all 3 of them separately.
But
That's what I did.
As frugal as I usually am, I was like, oh, it's going to cost me more for them as separates. I'll just buy the all-in-one. And of course, I didn't think about this. But this is the book that I read ages ago. But I loved it. It was great. So I was a book first guy. And I thought that actually the movie film adaptions were really, really good and stunning at the time. It was like, wow, they did a great job, like Aragorn and Legolas and all the characters, Gimli. I still remember some funny scenes with who plays as Frodo? What's his name? Elijah Wood? Yeah. Elijah Wood is great as well, because he's like such a gamer, and he's like kind of a does everything fella. So how do you feel like? I mean, I know you said your bar's really low. You fantasy whoer, but like, how low is that bar for this TV series? Like, do you think it would stand up for people who aren't fans of fantasy, or is it like you kind of got to be a fantasy junkie?
No, I do think you need to be into the fantasy stuff. It's just like I mean, again, when I say a low bar, I have a low bar for experiencing new things anyway. I think that that's a great way to do so. But I think that for like, I've just seen a lot of criticism from like diehard Tolkien fans that it's not true to the lore, or it's not true to like the actual character, like this kind of stuff. Can be. I mean, again, like I don't evaluate. If I find it enjoyable to watch, then I watch it. And the second thing that I wanted to bring up is that there is, and I didn't know that was not a popular thing, but there's a new Age of Empires game that came out.
Oh God, no.
Age of Mythology Retold, and I didn't know that a lot of people didn't know that Age of Mythology was a thing, because that was probably back in the day my favorite Age of Empires game. But they
didn't know that was an Age of Empires game. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They basically did a full remaster of that one. I haven't played it since, again, I don't have my desktop, so I don't have the ability to do so. But it seems like they've kind of hit the nail on the head with that one. I've seen a lot of positive criticism, and I just wanted to highlight it for people that are into RTS games. It's probably something you would want to pick up, because it's everything that made the game great just look a lot better. There's already mods for it. They have a full mod engine built into the game, so you like Lord of the Rings, there'll probably be a mod out there soon that will take full advantage of that, and you can play an RTS Lord of the Rings style. But yeah, it looks absolutely amazing. They have a map editor. They're building a competitive scene out there as well. The single player is apparently still over 10 hours long, so there's like a lot of content there for an RTS as well, even though the real value is in the multiplayer, probably in the AI. But yeah, like if there are people fans of these kind of games, anything Age of Empires, check it out. Age of Mythology Retold.
That's so funny, Rowdy, because we're like an old married couple or something. Like, I mean, you bring in topics up that like I've written in for today's show anyway, and it's like it's so hilarious because we didn't sync up on that before I did the intro at all. Exactly. It's just great. It's so funny. This life is great. Well, chat, I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go ahead and get into the episode. Well, our dear friend Jose isn't with us thanks to the power outage at the moment, but I've got a point for him. My highlight is not, absolutely not, the yellow jellies in Final Fantasy IV. Because feck those guys. They're really, really tough. So what happened is last episode we were talking about emulation. And again, this is a little bit of a sidestep from VR, but I promise you there's plenty of other what I'll deem highlights baked into the show from a VR side. But I picked myself up a little Anbernic gaming device, which is super sleek, slim, fits in a pocket, and batteries life is great. I spent about 10 hours setting this thing up. Doesn't take that long, but I'm just picky with settings and things. And now I've got a whole bunch of kind of original consoles there. That's going to be traveling with me to connect. That was the whole point. Because I didn't want something quite as big as, a Steam Deck. Steam Deck compared in size is 4 times the size of this thing. It's just massive. And so I was like, I don't want to carry this on a plane. I know a lot of people do it. And some people will pair it with a Quest because of the new update from Meta, but it's like that's just too many cables and shit. Like I don't know. I'm traveling with one bag, and I'm gonna bring my games with me. So what Jose recommended that I do, because he knows a lot about emulation. He was giving me all these tips, got me set up. So big shout to Jose for being my cocaine dealer since last podcast. Much appreciated, Jose. But he recommended Final Fantasy IV because I've never played any of the Final Fantasies, actually, up until now. The only thing that I've ever played was that PSVR 1 game, which was Monsters of the Deep. It was like a crossover fishing game that was originally an FPS in the Final Fantasy world that they turned into a fishing game. That sounds bonkers. It's true. And the game was also kind of good. It had Chocobo in it and all kinds of weird things. So Final Fantasy IV, I was a big Chrono Trigger player, and I was like, okay, I'll dive into this and I'll try to play it. And the game bloody starts off, you're just murdering innocent civilians, and then you're killing a girl's mom, and it's like Jesus Christ, I didn't realize it was this metal. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, like I have to say, like Final Fantasy, the storylines of each of them are just so good. Like I started out with 8, Final Fantasy 8, and then I started going back 7. I went to 6 as well, and all of them just have amazing stories. 9 had a great story. 10, 10-2, like after 11, I started dropping off again because life.
There's a lot of them,
yeah,
and they're long, So, but they're great. I love JRPGs, and so I don't know. I'm now neck deep in that. Even just playing the original Tetris, where they give you like these little devices. I didn't realize, like, for $100, right? It's even less in real dollars. This is Canadian dollars I'm talking about. Like for $100, you get a device that can do it's like 3,000 games or something on there now. It's nuts. It's just awesome. Nuts. I thought that these things were like $500. I was so wrong. They're amazing. So yeah, that's my new buddy. Thank you, Jose. That's the Anbernic RG35XXH for horizontal. You can get it also in a kind of a Game Boy style, kind of vertical edition if you prefer that. But having the hands apart is really comfortable, and man, I'm just doing all kinds of things. Tony Hawk. I was up with Tony Hawk last night. Love that as well. So with that, let's cover off some of the latest run of VR news items. But before then, we have a sponsor. So I'd like to welcome back a repeat sponsor of the show, which is Kluge Interactive. Again, with news about Synth Riders, their rhythm-based title. So we've already got a couple of those in our lineup today. If you're a fan of music games, you definitely owe yourself to try this out on your favorite headset. They're across like all of them, including Apple Vision Pro, strangely enough. This one's got the best multiplayer experience out of all the music rhythm games, I would say, across the catalog, the broadening catalog of these types of experiences, and they're one of the original ones. But they have a particularly interesting, visually stunning partnership with the artist Muse that now you can try out for free, kind of a one-time go of their DLC before you decide to buy it. You can do that on Quest or PSVR 2. I personally recommend PSVR 2 because the colors on that are just amazing. Like the pop of the electric colors, the neon pink and blue and all that. Beautiful. The other thing that I would say, something maybe a little bit new, but Quest Plus subscribers would know this already, is Synth Riders is included in that pack. So another game for your game catalog. Definitely check it out if you've kind of glanced by it. Synth Riders has got a particularly ranged variety of music. I think I remember this first kind of coming onto the scene from an FReality perspective with their electro swing tracks.
Oh, those are my favorites. They have 2 of them now.
they're
Yeah.
amazing. And then more recently, they released like that 80s pack. So in contrast to other music games, which tend to go for the obvious things, that's like, oh, dance and R&B or like whatever, they have a really nice series of like compartments of like different ranges of music. And they've got Lindsey Sterling, for example, violinist, for example, as well. So just smitten with synth writers, I'd say. So I'd also say that with our hearts going out to all the budding creators out there, as VR is definitely brimming and very alive these days. For anybody who's interested, Kluge also have now the Kluge Collective, which is a creator-centric program. You can find the link to the application to that in our event description from today's show if you'd like to apply. And I want to thank Kluge for one-upping the FReality podcast yet again. And with that, on with the show. Okay. Let's start off with my favorite thing of all, which of course is live streaming. Okay, so the other day I was just finishing work off, and YouTube pushed me a logo, which I kind of recognized, and there was a show. It said Linkin Park on it. I said, I don't remember seeing anything like this recently, so I clicked in, and I dropped into this show that had a really impressive like laser show and smoke, kind of like what you'd have, but this was live, and I was like, oh shit, I just caught this. I caught it right at the right moment too, so thank you, YouTube algorithm. You seem to be working at least sometimes. And I realized that this band hadn't like shown off anything in ages, obviously since the untimely passing of their lead vocalist, Chester Bennington. He'd only been 41 years old when he left a hole in the community. And cutting a long story short, this rock band has a brand new lead singer. She power walked on stage and opened with a brand new song of theirs. She's Emily Armstrong, who some of you may know from the band Dead Sarah. Dead Sarah's new to me. I'm definitely going to be checking that catalog out. I was very impressed. She came out with a broad sonic range of vocals, gravelly screams, and a nice compliment to the band's existing songs, honestly. But why mention this on a VR podcast, you might be saying? Zim? Well, the Quest 3 was dropped bang out in the middle of right at the beginning of their new single. So they have a single called The Emptiness Machine, which was their kind of first on stage for their live stream opening act, where it starts off with one kind of co-vocalist, and then Emily comes in and kicks in really hard in the middle of it. Banging track, really great. Look it up. And they showed a Quest 3. Just someone sitting on their couch, kind of disappearing off into a Quest 3. On Twitter and X, Refine Reality Limited pointed out that this combo was a little funny, given it was called the Emptiness Machine, and that echoes a little bit what those VR is dead naysayers have been, chanting for years. While at the same time, this could be viewed as kind of like a coping or escape mechanism, because they're talking about like being trapped in a dead end job, or trying to be the person that somebody else wants you to be. Felt very Linkin Park, I would say, their new track. So as an old school and graying now Linkin Park fan, I was really enamored at the way that they decided to kind of announce their music. I didn't know it had been 7 years since the, as I said, untimely passing of Chester, but time passes very, very fast, and the show they put on, which was in what they call a round, like there's the audience all the way around them, was a technical feat all by itself. Can you imagine getting on stage and like having to be a new voice for a band that was that popular, and then cover a bunch of their old stuff and do your new material all in the same go? I can't imagine how dramatic that is. But man, I thought she really killed it. And so just wanted to applaud that. I love seeing live streams. I caught this moment. If you haven't checked it out, I got 5 million views overnight. Like, that's how
Holy
big
crap.
these guys are.
I didn't
So.
see the stream, but I did see the music video. But I was thinking the same thing, like, oh man, it almost was like, she's definitely way, Linkin Park way bigger than FReality. Sorry guys, but I was just thinking when she, stepping in to fill such huge shoes, and I'm like, man, she must be so worried about like all the fans being like, who are you or whatever. And I was like, I could relate. But in the music video, at first I was like, oh no, are they portraying, because they had a bunch of people working dead end jobs, and then they had the quests, and I was like, oh man, are they like saying that this is, loser? But then, if you watch the music video, like closer to the end, it's sort of like they're it's more like an escape, like they're in a
Yeah.
virtual environment. So I was like, okay, maybe they're not actually, talking about the Quest as being like a losery device. So it
Yeah,
was it
Well, I
was
mean,
I didn't
better.
take it that way.
in a way, a lot of gaming and even music and video, it's all about escapism, right?
It is.
And I think virtual reality is no exception to that. And for a band like Linkin Park, who has gone through hardship way before the loss of the lead singer with the loss of Chester, I do think that they understand the concept of escapism just very well, and that's something that hit with that entire generation that they grew up with and they kind of defined with their genre. Is that there's things or ways to escape from the troubles of your life, and for them that was through music, but there's other mediums like video and art, sports, and now as well virtual reality,
Exactly.
which I'm thinking that they're trying to portray here.
That's how I took it, because they started off showing, like them, painting. They were like making an emotive painting, and there were a number of different art forms. And they weren't the only gaming console featured either. At one stage, one of the band members is there sitting with a PlayStation gamepad, looking up at the screen, and the screen's been replaced with, the new singer and all that. So I think you're right, Rowdy. I think this was more about like, kind of that escape side, and really kind of coping mechanism. And that's actually, Linkin Park has always been very true about tough life situations and dealing with that, not just the emotional rails that go with that, but like how to kind of improve or move past it, right? Like how to deal with it. So yeah, Linkin Park was really important to me when I was an emotive teen, and we've all, I'm sure, had dead end jobs. So it was nice. It was nice to see it. It did for a moment like strike me. I'm like, did Meta pay for that? Is that product placement? Because it did look very like product placement-y, but
That
I
goes
think
to
it actually
those smart
wasn't.
on Meta's design is to make such a headset that's just so, obvious whenever you see it on somebody. That was all in their design plan.
I'm
Probably
sure
at
it
the
was.
next Meta Connect, you'll see the payments as in like Linkin Park performing there.
I would love it if they did that. Brought him on stage, because they're only got like 6 shows out. There's this new album that's dropping as well, So, but it definitely brought me back. I mean, it's kind of what you were saying there, Adam. It brought me back to the anticipation of about launching into a new chapter. I mean, we did that for ourselves, right, with FReality, and we felt that anticipation and like figuring out who we wanted to be part of the band, and then like moving forward with that, and doing the new trailer, like all those steps to us. So this felt very familiar to me, and to catch it just kind of ad hoc like that, I love those moments, man. I love life that way. I love live streams, and that's one of the reasons, is that there's nothing quite like catching something live and viewing it, viewing reality kind of like all at the same moment with other people. So for people who are Linkin Park fans, or just interested in this, From Zero's their new album, just kind of coming out. So massive applause. I'd like to welcome the two new band members to Linkin Park. But that's what's had me absolutely pumped for the last 2 days. Like I felt like a kid again and I'm just like looking at posters and album artwork and show dates, and that's great. So I mean, they're showing like later this month in New York. So it's mad. If you get the opportunity to go see them, let us know how that went. I do think it was a nice ode to Chester, and I think it's nice that Linkin Park are giving their fans, what looks like a very lively future ahead. So that was awesome. But maybe the most odd part now, just like a day after the live stream, and they dropped the single with a music video that was really cool out, is there's now an honestly great AI rendition of Linkin Park's original vocalist Chester singing the new song, and it's eerily and kind of depressingly great. Like it's he slots in perfectly, and they've got all those like nuances in his vocal. Like I wouldn't have been able to tell you it wasn't him. A friend of mine who works with Meta put me onto that, and my jaw honestly dropped when I saw it. My reaction was like, "Wow!" So hunt that down and have a listen. It's got like 12K views or something there
Yeah.
overnight. So
The way that
it's starting to spread.
the way that usually works is that probably the person who's doing that has a voice that is already very similar to Chester's voice, and then it is easy for an AI to more or less modify that to make it sound exactly like him. So it's probably already a great singer that
From what
does
I
this.
read,
Mhm.
I believe it was full AI. I don't think someone voiced it and then masked it. I think it was just
Oh,
from
okay, that
Chester's
can be
vocal
as well,
samples that are available on the web.
right?
Right. But I
Jeez.
was like, because it's not about sounding like the right voice. It's about the inconsistencies, the imperfections. And like, again, this will be post podcast for most of you, but like listen back to it and I'd be curious in the comments. Like, let me know what your thoughts are about that. I was like, that's nearly impeccable. I wouldn't have been able to tell it wasn't him. And the fact that he's not with us anymore, like this is a dead guy and you're taking AI to kind of fill in issues. And I know we've done that with like Sinatra and other artists, but this feels very
Well, there
very
was,
present.
I don't know if you remember me sharing that, but there is AISIS, which is the one from Oasis, who's like a new
It's not a new terrorist group, is it?
Yeah,
Jesus.
what's a
AISIS.
terrible name? Jesus.
Jesus.
AISIS, yeah, instead of Oasis, and they
Uh,
brought like, because they thought that Oasis was never coming back together, so they built like an entire album of like how Oasis would sound right now, and it's very good. But as we all know, Oasis announced, which I'm very excited about, by the way, like a reunion tour.
Oh,
Probably
nice.
not going to see them, but yeah, excited to see some content coming from there for sure.
Life is busy. Life is busy. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just have to take the content. So, but those are that's some kind of fun stuff out the music lane. Music and that is one certainly way that I used to get immersed and still do. I love it. That's why I'm such a headphone nerd. Um, but speaking of strong female leads, it's a weird segue. Who remembers The Little Mermaid? I know we've got a pretty heavy male audience, but hey, you lads out there, you're allowed to have feelings in childhood too, you know. You are.
percent.
Yeah, the 1%. Um, well, just as a reminder, since it's been a while, or for anyone who doesn't know the originals, I wanted Rowdy to show off two sets, right? So there's the original Ariel, the Mermaid Under the Sea, and then there's the recent reboot where it got launched and kind of new coat of paint and all that. But on the topic of AI and where AI is going, it's starting to get a little daunting for me. Initially, I was a little bit, I don't know, happy about where we were headed. I was like, yeah, bring it on, man. Bring it on. I can take it. Just throw me into a game. Give me my AI options. Let me stick a prompt in. And I've repeatedly echoed and egged on that AI, like I'm ready for Skyrim or No Man's Sky to get upscaled, upgraded, expanded, extended, and it'll just allow me to live into that space, right? That seems like a dream. Well, being so close to games being the next medium to take us over through AI, I've got a little, honestly, no, absolutely horrifying glimpse of where we might be headed with VR. So, Rowdy, I'm not sure you're all ready for this. I'm going to be honest.
Should I be worried?
But as someone who grew up with Ariel as oh yeah, that what my future bride might look like, just like that, right? Under the sea and all that. Well, let's see what the crew has to say about these lovely ladies under the sea that were shown in a little bit more realistic depiction by AI. And this is Midjourney. So Midjourney, thank you. Thank you for ruining all of my dreams. Here we go. This is these are
Oh no! Oh god, this is like a phasmophobia of the sea. Oh
Yeah, this looks
god.
totally fine. Yeah, is that Sebastian?
No. God. This would make a
Under
great
the
horror movie
sea.
though, you know? Like not like a Little Mermaid horror spin. Oh god, Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Why?
These are about as
Apparently, you still have
horrifying.
lipstick though.
This is the problem. They've like the blend is like I haven't seen anything like this. There's just something so utterly eerie and creepy about these
The tentacle
like
hairs.
It's again that uncanny valley, right? You know, like where it looks too good to be unreal, but it looks too bad to be real. So we're like stuck in that middle, and our brain is trying to comprehend, you know, what's going on there, because this is not something that we're used to seeing. That's why zombies are so aversive to us as humans, right? Because it doesn't make any sense. This is the same.
I would watch this movie though, like, but as a horror film, not, you know.
Well, I mean, to be honest, this is probably a more realistic depiction of mermaids and how they originated as, you know, sirens, right?
Exactly.
Who were
So
luring men into the
That's
sea
cool.
only for them to be eaten.
you reacted perfectly there, Adam. Thank you for that. Can you, for our audio listeners who don't have the advantage of seeing the video, just describe what we just watched?
Yeah, I'll play it again. Here you go, Adam. Go ahead.
So it looks it basically looks like realistic deep sea underwater footage, except it's like part human, part fish, where there's weird like tentacle like hair appendages on some of them, or like it's a it's a woman with a jellyfish jaw, but the hat of like a a human like jellyfish with a human like face with a jellyfish hat, and there's just warped. I don't know.
It's like a shark, a jellyfish, and a human did some nasty things together, and this came out of it.
And one of those, the anglerfish, right? Because it has
Right.
the sharp
that
teeth
lantern
and the
one.
glowing stuff. Yeah. Oh god.
So now this is where we go for the open question, which is not if, when this game is available in VR, will you play it?
Which one would you date?
Yeah,
Is it a
would you
dating sim?
rather?
Oh Jesus, Rowdy! They all look like biters.
Marry F. Kill, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
So the question is, would you play a horror game in VR with this?
Yeah.
Dude, I couldn't even handle Resident Evil, let alone this. Like,
this is where we're heading. This is absolutely where we're heading.
this is why I don't do horror in
God.
VR. I don't even
I
do
think
horror
we are.
flat games.
I think we're less than 2 years away from this. Like from prompt entered ability to go into a VR headset, because we already have. I saw it this week. I don't have the link or the video for you, Rowdy, but I saw, Doom created by AI. Like the whole game construct, a whole new version of basically Doom written from scratch through AI. We are on this precipice.
Yeah,
and
I'll say it even stronger. I think that we're
horrifying.
less than 3 years away from a person having a heart attack in virtual reality due to a horror experience.
I think it's going to happen because it's
Surprised it hasn't happened yet.
It's going to be too real. Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, to be honest, because the other one I've got to show is MaDiSON. So just to remind people, or people who maybe just missed it, for anyone who wants to prepare for this grim future, which I actually also love secretly, but I do think that maybe I'll have a heart, failure.
I'll definitely
in one
watch
of
you
these titles
stream it
live. Yeah, thanks. Cheers. Appreciate that. Nice support. But MaDiSON VR had some of the darkest, like, ongoing horror trickery that I've ever experienced. I mean, I've considered it leapfrogging into my top 5 all-time VR experiences. It's that memorable a journey. Even for horror veterans, like MaDiSON is going to shake you. I promise.
Yeah, I would not. I would never. You couldn't pay me to do it.
Even for me, this one's
Well, no, you
a
could
bit
pay me to
much.
do it, but I wouldn't do it.
Especially on PSVR 2, where I know the blacks are going to be scarier. So, like, I don't know. I like horror games, but I think I would need to stream it because I don't want to play this alone.
I'm my reptilian brain just kicks into action, and it's like I said that a while ago on the show as well. Like, like if there's the only way down to go is like in the dark cellar where the weird noises are coming from, then I'm just fine on the couch, and I will close that door, and I will never go into that cellar and never finish that game. There is no way.
Why must we go in scary cellars and houses and let's investigate the dark noise and the shape that we saw moving very quickly? What's that?
With me, it's reptilian brain activates, and it's like, I'm the only thing that matters right now is survival and getting out of this.
Yeah.
That's a good instinct to have.
It is, honestly, it is. But I don't know if I should be really excited and like animated and happy that this is coming, or I should be absolutely like terrified that it just might end my life one day in a future headset. So I don't know. But if you like horror, this is what you got to look forward to. Mermaid ladies, the dating experience, right?
Yeah, Subnautica is gonna get crazy.
Oh, dude, that would pair so well with like Subnautica 3. Oh my lord, please, let's do it. Let's do it.
But no, yes, let's do it because I want to see.
Let's do it.
I want to see Zim play it so I can.
And this is one of 5 senses, right? You're just seeing it. Okay, 2 senses because you're hearing it. You're seeing it and hearing it. But what about when you feel it? Like when you do your I'm like the brain computer interface. What if you could feel it?
Just being in the ocean and like when kelp or seaweed touches you, all of a sudden freaks me out. Like
there's just no way that will get No, like we can't do that. Like if we do, people will die. People will literally
It's
die.
coming. It's coming. It will happen. People will experience this.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
gonna
going to
happen,
be.
and then we're gonna realize we made a mistake, and then it's gonna be a
Well,
ban.
we've got the
Worldwide
electric
ban.
shock vests, so like we're starting.
We're starting, and it's definitely going. It's definitely going that way. So anyway, that's AI. We're getting a glimpse of horror. Okay. What
No.
about another horror? Let's talk about Hitman 3 Reloaded for a moment. Now, a game famously known for a poor port prior Hitman 3, right, with VR, PSVR 1. I remember having to stand on a step stool so I could get myself boxed into the perfect orientation so my camera, which was already the little fucking PlayStation camera, was like glued into the corner of my room. So it was already as far away as I could possibly go. And I had to kind of get my body into the perfect spot. And so I was standing on the step stool, live streaming this game. Oh my God, I hated it because it was like the flat game was pretty cool, but the VR game was just a bad adoption. And now we've had, I think this is the third iteration basically of the game kind of being reborn. And oh my Lord. Okay, I haven't played it yet, so I can't cast my judgment. But I'll tell you this much. People are not happy. Not happy. Like look at this gameplay, right? This guy's trying to garrote somebody, the string's going through his neck multiple times, and then the body just floats up to heaven. It's like, what's going on? And he loses his head. Fucking this game is like
Man.
clearly
Even worse,
bugged.
it got noticed.
What do you mean?
Crime
mean?
got noticed.
Oh, right, yes.
It
Mission
took a
failed.
while though. Like,
Still,
oh,
it,
sad.
yeah, like, so the first game, huge flop, in my opinion. This game, God, it's released with quality issues, right? Like traumatic. Rowdy, can you pull up the Quest reviews page and just read off a couple and scroll through for us? Because I'm seeing like so many 1 stars, it hurts.
Right.
And I think they're sitting at an average of about 2.7 stars. Anything below 3 is like
Still over
big
average.
warning bells. That's a bad. That's a
Played the
bad.
Steam
Bad sign.
version.
Okay, so
I
it's-
was interested in trying this one, but
It's
Did
about
you play the
40
Steam version?
no, because I'd
Oh,
heard
no.
the bad things. I didn't.
Oh,
But
yeah.
this one may be the same thing.
It's
or
about
worse.
41 fake money, so that's quite high, I would say. Yeah, it's almost 3 stars still, which I find surprising.
Yeah.
Pretty high.
Reviews.
Give us the scroll down. What are people saying?
I love the first one with the title. It's called Hitman 3 VR.
Oh, shit.
Without a doubt, the worst game of the series, maybe even the worst Quest standalone out there, and definitely the worst game any multi-million company has ever made. The textures look like a 3-year-old made them in Microsoft Paint. The 3D models will give you eye cancer, and the lighting is non-existent. The movement is absolute trash, and the natural and fluid motions aren't there. Reloading is a fixed animation, and vaulting just teleports.
Wow.
Worse than the PC VR port. Fundamental issues. Appalling. 1 star is too much. Yeah, so
Ouch.
technically, yeah, indeed. So it's you need to deduct a star probably, right? Because the 1 is the lowest that people can give. So it's basically sitting on a 2 out of 5. The lowest score you can have is a 1.
That's a good point. That's a very good point, actually, because you can't give a 0. So yeah, okay, that doesn't seem to be going particularly well, right? And that's, I just wanted, like, because it takes us, it's probably going to take me a month before I get to play it, because I normally wait, especially when a game's so buggy, I like let the devs take a month, then I go in, and then sometimes I find myself in a position, which is really interesting as a critic, where I'm like, guys, this is actually good. The core gameplay is decent. So chat, however you guys are feeling about it, maybe some of you like the game, maybe some of you don't, whatever the case is, this isn't to dunk on the devs. It's just to say that, and register right now, community is not happy. And that's pretty apparent. So it does look rough. And the thing is, they've already had releases before. So my question is, how do you repeat that mistake? Like, unjustifiable, really.
I think Zombieland was one of theirs too, right? And that was a game I did not like. Or at least I only tried it on release, but I can't remember what their other titles were.
I thought Zombieland was, if it was like dumb action, but I thought that the core gameplay elements were good. It's not my kind of game, because I tend to go for like Thinking Man's type of game, like something that's a little bit more thoughtful. Not just pure action is not usually my thing. don't any of the Medal of Honor people say anything, okay? I do like dumb action sometimes when it's got a story. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's one contentious game. Let's speak about another one. And let's move on to the subject. Rowdy's already whetted his appetite for this one. Real-time strategy. How rare is it that we actually get a real-time strategy game in VR? We average like one every 2 years, so it's not very frequent. Now, the last one that we had, which was pretty decent, and this was, Rowdy, this might scare you. It was 6 years ago that we got Brass Tactics. 6 years ago. I can't believe that. I mean, this game launched. There was an Asian competition. They flew people like Bradley and Kaz and Cherry out, and Caleb, I remember, and we competed basically in this title. So Brass Tactics was a game that was either 1v1 or 2v2. You had like magical dragons and stuff.
From the creators of Age of Empires 2, I didn't know that it was from them. Interesting.
Yeah. So it like had clout behind it, right? And Rowdy's a huge Age of Empires fan. And what I was alluding to when I was giving the titles was like, what game do you prefer more? Are you a Age of Empires person? Or perhaps you're like Zim and you like StarCraft. I'm a StarCraft nut. I've been doing StarCraft LAN gaming in the last week with my family and getting myself ready for this new VR. But like, I guess that there's a third camp that I'd like to just mention because they do exist, which is Command and Conquer fans. So like you got a choice between the three. Adam, yeah?
I'm more StarCraft camp. He's more Command and Conquer, but
those campy videos were great, man. I miss those like CG trailers with like Tanya, their like red comrade or whatever. Those were great.
Yeah.
Mirror tanks and all that stuff. But yeah, Zerglings, Protoss, that's my game. I love that stuff. Not even so much StarCraft 2, but like StarCraft 1 for me. The remaster is just, it's still perfect.
The main difference is the speed, I would say. Like StarCraft is such a high speed of play.
It's very fast. Yeah, so like I average around like 60 actions per minute, and like good players are like 200 to 300 actions per minute, So
it's nuts.
It's great but the thing is, I see them do it, and sometimes they're like clicking around the map unnecessarily, and I'm like, you're just boosting your numbers so you look good in esports. But anyway, I know they're actually skilled people, and like they have fucking StarCraft breakfast cereal, just like there's Japanese have Pokemon breakfast cereal and planes and all this. But anyway, back to VR, right? We don't get very many real-time strategy games. So this week I went and dove into a new real-time strategy game called Expansion. For anyone who is, again, as old in my generation as I am, like used to get a disc, like a CD, right? And then you'd get another disc later with the expansion to that game. So calling the first game Expansion to me just felt so wrong. That aside, this is actually a pretty decent game. Now, if you think RTS, you might be thinking down the wrong way. This is what I would describe as an auto RTS. So you're dropping troops on the ground. You have a kind of like a mana bar, and you're able to kind of like spend that energy on smaller or bigger units. And then very much like rock, paper, scissors, the units kind of combat each other. So if something's on the ground, it can't attack air, then spawn something in the air to kind of take the ground unit out. If it's an air unit, take out something that's anti-air, it's distant, so it can shoot it from afar, but maybe is weak and is a glass cannon on the ground. So you've got this little pallet on your left arm, and you have to choose before you start the game, what 7 types of troops are you going to bring? So it's like your palette. What are my weapons that I'm going to bring? And then you basically are like painting the colorful environment with these things. It works pretty well. At the moment, they've got working 1 versus 1, so you can do multiplayer with a friend very easily. 1 versus CPU, so you can go up against a bot, and the bots they're pretty fair. They automatically scale to your difficulty. I found that I was winning maybe 40 to 60% of the matches. So I felt like it was pretty fair. It felt like a challenge. It didn't feel like a pushover. But when I really laid into a particular route, it kind of felt like a MOBA or a tower defense game, maybe more so than an RTS, right?
Yeah, it feels like a little bit of a mix, or it seems to be a little bit of a mix of like a tower defense and like Dota. League of Legends.
That's why, like a MOBA. Yeah, very much like a League of Legends, where you've got to like push up a lane and then kill a tower to kind of get in. Now, the thing is that hooked me, because I was like, okay, that's skin deep, right? I can spawn units. I'm pushing against their units, fine. And the levels aren't huge. But the part that I really liked was when you win, you get some credits, in-game currency. And then you spend that back in the hub. So when you're in the hub, there's a bunch of different units, and there's probably maybe 30 unlockable characters, including like really big tanks, flying units that would look like little Batman. There's like tower emplacements that sit and are static on the map once you place them. And you earn these credits, and then you can spend them. And I'd say the economy was set so that probably in, I guess, 5 to 8 hours, you probably would have everything unlocked. So it's not too onerous, but actually that hook was enough, and the units were different enough that I was like, oh, damn, I want to play this again. I definitely want to come back. And that's like one of my main tests with VR games is it one and done, or am I going to actually come back and play this? And both me and my wife were both quite critical in different ways. We both voted like, yeah, we want to sit down and play this again for sure. Because we want to see what those other units do. We want to unlock them and then see how we do against each other. So bit of a different thing. What you're showing at the moment, Rowdy, is my favorite unit. He's a little sniper, very small, very weak, total glass cannon, but he sits back and he just like takes some shots and he just like creeps along. It's so cool. So all the units are just like beautifully animated, and the maps themselves have a lot of animations. On one side, you've got little like claptrap type robots kicking boxes to each other. You got some chains pulling up and down. So the maps aren't static, and they perform well. And I felt like the game was like really rich and quite surprising, particularly from a development studio that looks like they only have made, pardon my language, but shite mobile games. Like they've done 3 shite mobile games. All of a sudden they're doing a VR game, and they're from a Maltese studio called Plasma Studio. Rowdy, just take a look at their website and please rate it for me. I want you to like see, it's called Plasma Studio. Should be a link there.
I had
the
controversy thing open.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that next.
Right, I can show their website too.
Because not all is well with this game studio, and I have to air this.
This looks like the logo looks a little bit like Plasma Studio. Looks a little bit like like this kind of like kids section at the resort that you're staying. Kind of like how this looks like.
That's lovely.
But
scroll around, look at their past games. I'm keen to get your feedback. Does this look like a, I don't want to feed you words.
I like their header font. It's very extreme.
Yeah, it looks kind of rough, like the website, I would say.
Yeah, but like if you saw a studio like this, like what would be your conclusion before we go any further? Like just looking at a studio that done 3 mobile games and then jumped into VR. Like, what's your thought?
I mean, probably not something I would try.
Yep.
A lot of it feels like, or I mean, at least because I can't even scroll in the web. Here we go. It's like made for iPad or something, I think.
It is, definitely. It's one of those out-of-the-box websites, I think.
Always suspicious of games that go from mobile to VR, because I'm like, are they trying to get a cash grab but not really knowing how the industry works, or like
Exactly. and so that's exactly where my brain went when I saw this website. I was like, so they're just doing a cash grab into VR. Like that's like they've not been successful on mobile, or maybe they've been somewhat successful, but they've heard about this thing, it excites them, and they want to go and take a cash grab. Okay, so separate to that, these guys,
hilarious picture.
This is the best part. Those team bond pictures are wonderful. They're wonderful.
They're stock photo.
They are stock photo brochure, right? It's so obvious. This is not their team. Like that's what I would. But maybe it is their team. Maybe it is. But it looks like stock photo, right? It looks like stock photo.
It is a very small studio, though. To be fair, like it's like 6 people. Oh wait, more.
Yep.
Oh, I just okay, huh? Oh, no, there's more people. Okay, like it just like they have like our team, and then there's like a button that says more.
So now for the controversy.
More people.
Controversy, right?
So on the Steam store page where you can buy the game for about $20, the top article. You go ahead and show it, Rowdy. Top article. Tell me what it says, and then click into it and let's have a read.
I not recommend buy this game.
Okay. Go on in. Let's see what it says.
As one of the team behind this game, do not. I'm just gonna quote this word for word, right? This is
Sure.
I don't know what language this person speaks, so I'm not trying to make
clearly
fun
not
of them.
English.
Yeah, it's not English, but I'm just gonna read it because I can't think that quickly, I think. I do not recommend buying it, and now I will explain why. The team that started working on this project and completed 99% of the content and functionality left the company due to delays and subsequent non-payment of wages for several months. Further bug fixes and promised additions remain a big question mark, despite the fact that the project owners promise a lot. They are not going to deliver, tested by the development team. The project is being developed only for the possibility of selling it. The users of the game will be thought of at the last moment. The company positions itself as Ukrainian developers. It turned out that this is not the case. The development team was indeed mainly from Ukraine, but the entire management was Russian, which explains, from my point of view, most of the behavior and actions of these people. Lies, incompetence, theft, harsh words. Some Ukrainian IT resources have articles about Plasma Studio and they describe them in more detail. I'll say it again, don't buy this product. We'll waste money on a crude, unpromising, in the hands of this company game.
Yeah, scroll down.
And then
there's other comments. And
Ooh,
I was
some
also
developers
part
now?
of the team that developed this game and can confirm all the words that the author wrote. The company's management is toxic and has a huge debt to the sad to read this as the game is actually quite good, but unlikely to reach its potential given what you said. Not paying staff who do a great job is of course wrong. Thanks for sharing. Suggested dev get together and just redo the game under a different name and make some money.
Yeah. So, and the trouble is, right? I played the game. Game's solid. But sometimes we have there's a backbone or a backstory to certain games, right? Remember Resonite and what came before it? And like sometimes there's like this eroding support network behind, say, Decagear. Everyone remember Decagear? Like where the company just evaporates overnight. Like I feel like for a largely multiplayer title, this is almost like a warning sign of like potentially a void. Now, I've not seen a formal response, and this could just be two friends taking the mick out of a company and making them look bad or whatever. So I've got to keep, pinch of salt with that. But it doesn't sound good. And looking at the studio's site, I don't know if there's the publisher or what, but Plasma Studio. I mean, this is a mixed bag for sure from the start. So just be careful, right? I'd say from my perspective, they had sent me a key for it, right? Whoever it was someone from quoting a Ukrainian address or whatever. And I thought, great. So just like, our artist who happens to be from Ukraine, and we were using them for years, right? In terms of the first and the second trailers, well before the war kind of kicked off. And I didn't even know this at the time, but like, just mind this one, right? It's a weird point of view. This does happen. We've heard other examples where developers go unpaid, and they do their great work. They either don't get credited for it, or they don't get paid in the end. And either again, dev team moves off, parent company moves away, thing collapses in on itself. Like to be a developer who puts effort and artwork and passion into a project that feels this nice, this polished, those are the people who I want to applaud here. Because I love RTSs. This VR auto RTS, tower defense game, this kind of funny little mix is really fun to play. I've really enjoyed it. It's a little hard to think, oh, money's going to be going to potentially a company that treats its staff this way. But honestly, if you think, Blizzard and Activision and all these other big companies kind of aren't like that, unfortunately, a lot of them have bad culture. And anyway, games are tough. Games are tough. Funding them, keeping them afloat, keeping studios alive. We've seen so many, blown up, amazing studios in the last 2 years. Like we've had so many kills that I just wanted to share that additional point of view on the back of what I felt was a really solid game experience.
Now I wonder if the people on the website that are listed as staff are even their staff. It's like, let's humanize our website a little bit and go on Facebook and find some kind of friendly looking generic people and with slightly lower quality,
They do all
realistic
have Russian or Ukrainian names.
Yeah.
The names could be real. I mean,
I'd like to have them. So this is the thing. There's two things I'd want from this company, right? They need to respond publicly, right? That's the first thing. And then if they really have screwed over their devs, not as a fanfare, not as a fan service thing, not as a helpful PR stunt, like go pay your people. I don't care if it's in arrears.
They are like on their website at least. They're hiring a full VR team. So I mean,
I feel like
oh boy,
they're not even gonna bother. They're the kind of people who won't bother to read the Steam discussions to even know that anything's going on or to care. So it's just like they dropped it and they're gonna walk away and never come back.
They're currently hiring for a lead VR game designer, a lead senior Unity developer in VR, a Unity developer, and a 2D artist UI UX.
Yeah, that's the team. That's what it takes to make a game like this, right? So, and the trouble is a junior, VR developer could be like, oh, here's my chance, here's my break, and that decision to take a job with that company could end up with them packing bags at a grocery store instead of doing what they want for a dream, especially for talented, VR devs. So anyway, just watch out. It's a message of warning more than anything. As I said, I wish I had more facts to be able to share, but it doesn't look good. So with that, that's like down in the depths. We've gone to fucking mermaids and corporate abuse and all this kind of stuff. Let's pull it back up. MetaConnect. Oh god. Okay. So just a reminder, we've got MetaConnect coming up. Whether I'm able to report directly from the keynote area is going to be up to Meta or not, but at least I'll be on campus this year. That's really cool because last year I had to take it from a pool party outside, which I was cool with. I was totally fine with, and Meta were nice enough at the time. I've actually been with various Meta programs like 6 times. It's a joke at this point. Like how many times, how many groups of people I've been with, and I know you were recently partnered up with them. Adam, so congratulations for that again.
I need to ask you about your pool place because I think I'm the you of last year where I joined just too late and they already made lists and stuff. So Nathan and I will be outside like, hey, what's going on there?
I already gave him all my tips because he asked me directly. It was funny.
Okay, send them to me too, please.
I will. And for anybody else who's kind of on the creator spectrum, just drop me a DM. So with that in mind, Rowdy, I'd like to do something we don't often do, which is run some YouTube audio for the next one. So what I wanted to do was just share a short sound bite. Maybe just run it for a minute or so. You'll hear it with a crowd reaction. But this was a crowd reaction at OC6 to give you an idea of what it felt like to sit in the seat with Mark Zuckerberg on stage unveiling a big standalone announcement. So, Rowdy, if you're able.
This is the one that is the right timestamp, right?
Should be. Okay. What do you mean is the right timestamp? I'm not sure what you're asking.
You shared it with the timestamp itself already.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay, drum roll, please. But it's always good being in the audience and in person.
All right.
Must be nice.
It'll happen. Just give it time. Rowdy accidentally shares a mermaid screaming. Please.
That is going to make it so that if you have a gaming PC,
something else. All right.
And a USB.
Well, I'll just mention some things until Rowdy's got that running. So
you're now going to be able to run all the ripped content on your Quest.
I just want to mention, what was.
That's amazing.
Your Quest is...
All right. There we go.
Okay.
You can talk.
Brilliant. I just wanted to share that little bit there. So it's interesting because like if you're there in the crowd, or if you're at home or whatever, and then they never have like the crowd reactions captured in the like clean corporate video, and so you see Connect and it seems kind of like an Apple keynote presentation, but you don't get that energy of the room like building up. And that's what I always look forward to, is really the hype train, and I've been addicted to that since very early on. So hopeful that we'll get a chance to see some pretty wowzer stuff when we're there in California. Two things really: it's potential new, cheaper Quest headset, and potentially something on the AR side, right? So, or maybe a couple of things. I don't know yet. So we'll see what that comes to be. I can't wait. I'm luckily not exposed to anything that I don't know, so I can only tell you what my musings are about that. But I did want to say that for those who are going to be, locked at home, or otherwise, gated on the outskirts of the Meta campus where this is showing again, for a few years now, Horizon has been an awful option. Didn't like it. Carmack did a thing, and it's always been a joke. We used to pull it apart on the podcast and like point fingers. Last year, that changed, and it changed quite a bit. So if you watched back last year, for only like a week or so, they aired in Horizon a place where you could go in and watch a spatially captured video. And it was in higher stereo capture than I've ever seen. And they had this like auditorium area where you could grab a Meta Connect t-shirt or something like in Horizon. So goofy avatars and all that. But what's there at center stage is some of the most beautiful like stereo capture that I've ever seen. And there's a lot of high tech behind the scenes. So maybe if Rowdy's able to show us some of those photos of the kind of gear, what I wanted to share with you was, what does it look like kind of in Horizon? And then some photos of essentially the equipment. What I'm saying to you is this: even if, like me, you'd typically opt to watch the keynote on a flat screen, right? So you're not at the event and you're like, I'm just going to watch this thing on my big TV in 4K or whatever. Like do that. Fair enough. Do that. But bear in mind that you have the option to either watch live, or I assume like they did last year, watch back for a short limited period of time. In Horizon, connect, and it will make you feel like you're sitting in the audience. It's like really present in a way that it's hard for me to articulate here just, over audio on a podcast. But like the sense of depth of Zuckerberg there on the stage and the seats popping out, and like, it's really cool. And the refined like quality of the video is pretty amazing. So that's something I wanted to just mention, because Horizon looks goofy and stupid, but actually that wrapper is terrible, and the actual content in the center is great.
I'm imagining me like sitting right outside of Meta Connect just with my headset on, like, yeah, that's so cool. That's sad.
I guarantee you. Yeah. I basically did that. I mean, I watched poolside on a laptop with Amber from is it Resolution? Yeah. So, but then I went home and in a Quest 3, was able to watch this thing, and it was pretty fantastic. And it was like, wow, why wasn't this pushed more? Why did they like advertise? Because in previous years they've always pushed it, and then they like almost didn't say anything. And this year it seems much the same. So tune into that if you want to like join the action, so to speak. It's pretty neat, and I think a lot of people don't know about that. So that's Horizon, and I promise that Meta's not saying anything about that. Okay, yeah. And the other thing that I would just mention for anybody who is making the trip to Mecca, right, and is going out, consider if you got a few days around your trip, maybe to go see Half Dome. I did that last year. I went out to Yosemite. Took a 14-hour round trip from like downtown San Francisco on like a bus tour out to a park. Then we went hiking for a few hours up these rock faces and stuff. It was really cool. But like, it's one of those hand of God moments where you're like, holy shit, this is a piece of earth, and you're like looking at things that you've only seen in like, I don't know, Apple trailers or code names that have been on Meta projects. But like seeing Half Dome, being there in Yosemite, viewing these giant like space rocks just sitting in amongst some trees was really awesome to bask in the natural glory of California, honestly. So if you're traveling that far out, just consider doing a trip like that. I mean, last year I was kind of just foaming at the mouth, ready for Quest 3 to be announced, and was glad to be out there in nature and kind of enjoy it in the run up too.
How did you get there? Did you rent a car?
So
helicopter.
Funny, yeah, right. Just private helicopter. I had a ton of points. Haven't dropped a lot of money on plane flights when I moved from Scotland to Canada for 5 people. Right, that accrues a fair amount of points, and so these were coming up to expiry, and it's like you got to use them or you're gonna lose them, Zimo. And one of the options, just randomly, was take a trip from basically downtown San Francisco, get on a tour bus, and get driven out to Yosemite. And then you have a few hours to yourself to kind of go hiking and stuff. I buddied up with people on the bus, went hiking with a couple of lads. It was fantastic. Very, very hot. Just like you're saying now, you're 37 degrees. It was around that there. But made it back, didn't get eaten by a bear, and it's an incredible
That's
environment.
a way of doing it. Okay.
Yeah, it only just took a day, right? So you're up, you're on the bus at 7 and you get back at like 9 p.m. So it's like a full day, but definitely worth it. It was only, I think, a couple $100 is what it would cost if you just paid for that trip. So definitely worth doing if you're in the area and you don't have, you got a day to kill. There you go.
Awesome.
Next up, we've got some AR stuff. Let's talk about BOE. Now, I'd never heard about BOE, BOE. But this is a neck compute and battery form factor, which is just what I've been seeking. I've shown you this thing before, which is a neck battery bank, which I love. It's by Zyber, and it just sits there and charges your Quest 3. There's a cable that comes up to the headset. You move your head around, it doesn't pull or whatever. And now we finally see this BOE, which is a company referred to as, they were originally Beijing Oriental Electronics, BOE. And then the marketing team got hold of it and they said, no, we're going to remarket ourselves as Best on Earth. I think that's a tall order. I love your reactions to that. I mean, you threw it on screen. So Best on Earth, right?
What's going on with this website, people?
1993. Numbers. More numbers.
More numbers.
See all the numbers. We're Best on Earth.
Looks like placeholder stuff, like before you actually fill in the website with your.
Why is this? What is it? Lorem ipsum. No.
Cute. Yeah. Right. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this. So BOE are a major display technology company. They sell displays to headset manufacturers, TV suppliers, that type of thing.
Best on Earth displays.
Best on Earth. Best on Earth. Yeah. Again, that's a very bold name for a company. But what you should get excited about, and they just show this, there's a YouTube video that goes with this that shows off the headset and all that. So they've got a new display that's tiny. It's a 0.9 of an inch micro-OLED display, 3840 by 3840 resolution. That's 6020 ppi, so very high pixel density. And the thing that excites me the most, I think, is that they support HDR, and they say a peak brightness of 5,000 nits from a video taken by a YouTuber who was demonstrating a product just a couple of months ago back in May at Display Week 2024, which is a convention where display manufacturers get to show off their wares in a trade show. They were claiming 1,200 nits. Now, to contrast, your PSVR 2, which is already a very bright headset, is about 300. So if they are actually, at 1,200 nits, if they do have that resolution at that size, it could mean a very close to your eye display, perhaps not with the best FOV, but with intense HDR, intense brightness, lightweight, comfortable because of the neck form factor. So you'd be wearing basically your compute, so your CPU and all that, and your battery around your neck, and the tether goes up to the basically glasses that you're wearing, and those glasses fit very, very closely to your eyes, and that's the experience of their headset. And so this guy called Charbax did some trade show floor coverage. He's a guy who does blogging on major technology shows and covers 32 of those globally, and has been working on these since like 2004. So this guy just keeps going around, and he captured this moment where he was showing the displays and the focusing on the silicon. It just looks like a cool headset. I was just talking about it last episode. I've been thinking about it for maybe a few months now, but it's the first time I've seen someone cop onto the fact that, oh, I don't need a lopsided puck in my pocket or whatever. And it sorts the problem for a few people. People like me are absent-minded who just stand up and would yank an Apple Vision Pro off their face. And also ladies or anyone who appreciates a skirt, right?
Pants don't have pockets, so they got sad pockets where you fit like this amount of stuff in it.
Right.
Girl
So
pants
like
pockets.
girl pants, exactly. Solves that problem too. And actually having again play tested this for like 6 months, the weight around the neck it's just like it just disappears and it's like it's the perfect option. So I really hope that this is not the first and only one that we see. I'd love to try this out for myself. Hopefully it's going to be at a convention somewhere I will be. But that is BOE and their display tech. It doesn't even have a name as far as I can tell. They were just showing off really the display technology, and they are apparently a backup supplier for Apple versus Apple's supplier who I think is it Sony who provides the panels for the AVP. Someone in chat can correct me there, but so they're like display provider number 2 in the queue. So I'm really excited about this form factor. The actual panel itself sounds lovely. I so want a bright panel, absolutely, and I want HDR and I want an OLED. So yeah, that's my opinion. What do you guys think of this? What do you think of the
It's
funky
BIU.
form factor?
BIU, I think even. BOE is 2 models. It's best in universe, right?
Best in the universe. Oh, Rowdy.
I don't know the company enough. I mean, I know they have made displays. It sounds like
Yeah,
maybe
since
they're not as
90s.
bad as not as bad as Deca Gear. But I'm skeptical on if we'll actually see this thing actually being sold anywhere, or if they would rather just sell the technology to another company to do their own things with it. But I do
think
like the neck.
Deca Gear had a great side project or side product. I think their main product was unrealistic, probably in terms of delivering. Well,
Yeah,
realistic in terms of delivering, but not in scaling, right?
you're
That
gonna get
was
me
the-
sad now. I love the Deca move.
Yeah, the Deca move
I went
was a great concept, and they should have
So good.
focused more on that than headset, probably.
It needs to come back. That concept needs to come back. It worked. It worked so well. And it's just a little puck you'd wear on your hip, right? Rechargeable. So very good, very good. Okay, next bit of technology might excite you both a little bit more. Like I said, we were expecting to possibly see kind of a holographic display at MetaConnect later this month, but there's a product out in the wild right now. If you cannot wait and you want something on your face right now. So up next is the G1 glasses by Even Realities. Now this is a framed set of eyeglasses that's very light in its form factor. $600 is the starting price, so it's not cheap. Opens very, very similarly to the Wayfarer Meta smart glasses, and they sport what they call the Holistic Adaptive Optical System, or HAOS. It is a micro-LED optical transmission onto a pair of waveguide lenses, which actually end up with a pseudo-holographic display where you've got this kind of hidden projector screen that makes it feel like there is text floating about 2 meters in front of you. So it's not like smashed in your vision and blocking your view. It's out here. It's out in front of you. And so this is kind of what I expect that we'll see from Meta in just a short number of weeks. But this is actually out there. It's a live product. I'd never heard of Even Realities before, but they built this thing and it allows you text and translation prompts, directions, just all these kind of day-to-day use cases. And interesting little form factor for those who are on audio. Around the back of the head, there's 2 little antenna and transmitters that kind of clasp the back of your skull. So instead of having the chunky weight part be in the frames, it's more at the back of the head instead. So they look comfortable. I don't know if the style's really for me. They're very circular lenses. Adam, you're a fellow fan of the smart glasses from Meta. What do you think of these?
Oh my God, we're just progressing so quickly with our glasses technology. I feel like from with the angular screen that we've got inside of them to like, no, F that. Just get rid of it completely. But I'm like, how long has it been? Been like not even a year or 2? I don't know. This is nuts. But this is kind of the stuff that I could see myself actually using more on a daily basis. I mean, we are getting better. Like the glasses that I've tried, they are getting smaller and more, I feel like I won't get pointed out as much in public, but it's getting better and better. And that's what's crazy to me. I don't know. I'm really interested.
The designer looks like a proper designer. It's like a
He is,
cartoon character.
exactly.
Fashion week.
They were like, we got the best glasses designer. And then they show him and he's like, he looks like Colonel Sanders or something. He's all dolled up. It's really funny. But yeah, he looks like he belongs on whatever New York Fashion Week, one of those shows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I wish they had like different styles because I don't really like the round look.
I don't
But
either.
again, I can appreciate how slim this thing is, and it's
It
actually
looks like
a
glasses.
display in it.
That's
Yeah.
the main thing, right? It looks
Yeah,
like regular glasses, even though they have a very fancy. I think he designed something different at the beginning. Like looking on like the glasses, he's not wearing their glasses actually. Kind of funny. I was expecting all of them to wear, their glasses. But
That's a
yeah,
very good point. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of strange that they're not. But yeah, I like the form factor of it. Like it looks very small. I do think the greenish tint that they have. I don't know if it's changeable, but it looks a little bit Terminator-like.
Oh, the
It's
text
just a
that they
little
had
bit.
over
Yeah, like
courier new.
eliminate 30% threat. These kind of things. But yeah, this is where we're heading, and yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I like you. I like the form factor. It looks light. It looks like glasses, like you said. Probably the additional thing for me is it reminds me of Elite Dangerous when people were doing any file hacks to change from that neon green to like anything else. And I wonder if that is customizable in these frames. I thought the unboxing experience, which they kind of show this like opening leaf, it's like a flower blossoming type of thing. That's nice. I like that when you've got that in these products. They kind of like they just decompose themselves or they just kind of deconstruct themselves as you open the box, and then it's like, okay, now I can feel comfortable throwing that away and just keeping the
Right.
glasses. Two
There's
big questions:
Yeah, go ahead.
battery and like battery life. I don't know. I couldn't find it. And audio. I
Yeah, I was
don't
just
think
about to
there's
say.
audio. I don't think
Yeah.
there's audio.
We
So
had someone in chat asking
that's
that
a
as well.
major disadvantage for me. Again, like I would not move away from Meta Wayfarers because I am such an audiophile. I won't go without music now. Like that's a must-have. So even for
Right.
Meta, whatever they make, it's gotta have audio on board.
Well,
Got to.
I would say I'm a little bit a different aspect also because I've had to tap into the Apple ecosystem. The performance improvement that you get on dissociating audio from visuals is, for me, I think, worth the investment. I like to have my audio and my visuals separate because then I'll be able to mix and match. Preferably from the same company. If you have something like Apple, you buy like the Apple Vision Pro, you know that this will work very well with the Apple AirPods, right? And we'll talk maybe a little bit later about the Apple Showcase as well, and I'll have some comments probably for there as well. But I do think that for me, it's not necessarily like what Chris said in chat. It's a non-starter if they don't have audio. If they come with an audio solution themselves.
So you mean
purchasable? Yeah.
Okay. So
it doesn't need
what
to
you
be
mean
integrated for me.
Like they have
it
their
just
own
has to be in
AirPods or
sync.
something.
So in other words, optional, like buy it if you want audio. Kind of like what they did with PlayStation Portal, right? They had the PlayStation Portal, and then they're like, oh, the only thing you can sync with is our optional, also $200 like earbuds.
Right. Because
or
you need to think,
headphones.
right? Audio needs a driver, needs a speaker, and all of that tech is going to make your glasses heavier. Which I don't necessarily. I want my glasses to be light and not too much things going on. And also you're limited in cost, right? Because all of that is going to drive that cost of that device up. And with nowadays, you want AI pretty much in everything. So if you're going to have some kind of microphone or anything kind of input, it might be better to put that into the earphones themselves because you can dissociate that and you have a little bit more playground than with that. I don't really mind the dissociation of visual and audio as long as it works well together.
There's also another thing here that I wanted to say. So to Adam's point, right? We're leapfrogging very fast with this technology at the moment. These do have AI, by the way, so you can talk to your AI, to their AI and get some answers. I don't know which one that is. I didn't look that closely. But like when you're moving up from an existing set of frames, and then you go to the next technology and the next technology. If you're doing that every year, particularly for someone with strong prescriptions, like needing to get new lenses every time, bit of a pain in the ass for a few reasons, right? You might need to go to the optician to upgrade your, what do you call it? the sur-
Prescription?
your prescription. Yeah, sorry, I had just said it. So your prescription, but then like what happens if the technology moves fast, or what happens if your eyes deteriorate faster than the tech, right? You're always going to have like this mismatch, and then like every year or 2 years possibly, you're having to either change the lenses in and out, which is costly, or the frames might change. If you have to throw away the whole set basically every time, it's another barrier to entry. So this concept that a friend of mine had said was just more of a question, but I think there should be some thought to like what Rowdy you were asking for earlier on in the VR era, even early on when we started the podcast, was about modularity. It's like allow me to have standard prescription lenses that I can get from a third party in my prescription and then seat them into the frames that I choose. So I don't know if there is today a lens standard that is like is true for that across glasses makers. If there isn't, just like having a USB 2 or a 3 or whatever, it'd be great if there were interoperability with the lenses themselves so that we can focus on the technology and that adaptation. And when you're ready to move from one to the next, just like swapping out a graphics card, you don't have to lose your prescription with that. Anyway, just a thought for those out there who are designing these things. Okay, so that was Even Realities. I thought their website was weird, honestly, because it goes like super pixelated and then it like zooms in, and initially you're like, is this web page not loading? Bit of a strange one. So that was them. Let's move on to something else that's new. Okay, we've got a new VIVE that's inbound, and I want you to look at the teasers for that. So we've got a couple of things. I think I sent you a Reddit link, and we've got the website, which has a funny little they always have just terrible little taglines. See the wonder is what they're saying this time. It just doesn't sound inviting in any way.
All
But
of the
this
teasers look the same.
they're what's the point? What, you're gonna hype me up for something that is not gonna be great? Like I guess it's just getting the date out there for the announcement, so the engineering and marketing team can feel good. But this looks to be a standalone headset based on the quick trailing light, I suppose, around the frame. It looks like a standalone headset. Rumor on the street is this will equivalently be a Vive Focus 3, but with DisplayPort. So again, the importance of having uncompressed direct from the graphics card data pumping to the headset. So that sounds cool.
Are we
potentially
thinking this is
better
standalone? This big? It looks huge.
So does it? Go on, show it again. Show it again.
Hard to tell from colors.
It just looked like a Quest kind of to me, in terms of the. Unless
I do
you're
have
thinking it's a mothership. Rowdy.
like a funny, sad story. I don't know anything about this headset, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to at least try it, only because I got sent the Vive XR Elite, but then I had a problem, which I guess is kind of common, where you just like I think the tracking sensors on it break easily, so you just get stuck on an infinite Vive loading loop. So they were like, "Screw it, maybe we'll just send you the new headset when it comes out." So I get to try the latest one, but I don't like why I'm getting sent this. Like it's a little concerning. But
it's a little concerning. All right,
we'll see. Vive, I've said this a lot, kind of breaks my heart a little bit, because the OG Vive was my first headset. Very first, and I was like, man, like little me is like, it'd be so great to be sponsored by Vive. Like Vive is such a great company, and they're making cool stuff. But now I'm not. It's like I want them to find their thing again, and they need to pick a sector, whether that's gaming, business, or I don't know, something else, and just
movies.
Commit to that thing. And I don't know, it's just all over the place.
I'm surprised that their investors and their board have not forced them to give up on gaming yet, because they don't seem to be winning. And they seem to be at like headset 5 or 6 now. That really has not, like the Cosmos, the Focuses, like they're just, even back to the Vive Pro, it was an overpriced headset for what it was. So I'm very apprehensive about this. Again, word on the street is it's going to be another XR Gen 1 chip. Same as in the Focus 3, improved pass-through cameras, and
I wonder if they just like did peripherals, like the trackers. Like trackers were really good, and my OG ones still work great, and they have the facial tracker, which is all right, but then it's still like are you then focusing on social VR people? Like, who is this for? I don't know, but pick something and
Yeah.
just go 100% into that.
That's the way. That's the way. Well, any thoughts on this, Rowdy? You've been watching Vive the whole way along. Oh, and I forgot to ask Adam a question. Adam, your Vive headset, were you a V1 or a V2? Like, did you have the original massive moon crater headset or the one that they slimmed down?
No, I had the Moon Crater one. That's
Good lass. Yeah, good.
It's still
That was
somewhere.
beautiful. Like, that was probably of all my VR unboxing experiences, that is the one. Like, it came in a massive box with like 27 parts. It felt like assembling Lego or something. But then at the end of it, you got holodeck. I mean, that was cool. Yeah, I hate those
still
Vive
remember
ladles now.
receiving that
but-
one and like setting it up with my dad and like having that first VR experience, because you had to drill holes in your walls to like mount the light stations and like
Yeah.
So it was like it wasn't like you got the box and it was all right, unpack and play. No, it was like half a day of setup. You had to like figure out where I'm gonna place these base stations, how I'm gonna calibrate them, how I'm gonna make sure that that they have enough room coverage and this and that. Like, and luckily it was my own apartment back then, because like I don't know if I would have been able to do so much drilling in the walls if it wasn't if my dad hadn't come out to help. So that was an experience. Then the first
felt like
time
Christmas
going
morning,
into
right?
and then the first time going into that Valve lab, where you got that first VR experience. Yeah, that was
Trigger
a
with those
magical
balloons or
moment for
confetti
sure.
or something, and you're like, whoa, look at the confetti.
I love those little paper dudes, man. Those little paper dudes like took my heart straight away. I was like, damn, I honestly would play if if Valve just made a game with those little paper people, like the
Right.
entire game.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I don't know, like a Mario game or something, but like with those paper people. I would play that. I think Valve could do it.
RTS.
I also think I was one of the first people
Cool.
in the world to get injured playing VR, because I was so early to the
Congratulations.
game. Yeah, I had my dad play a game, and I was standing next to him, and he like punched one of the things, and like I was standing there, and it just got like that controller, that Vive controller, the good chunk. Yeah,
Chunky.
Yeah, that hit my jaw. Yeah, probably one of the first people to get
Sorry for
injured. Yeah.
That's
'Cause
great.
I do know I was the second person in Belgium to have ordered a headset. I do know that.
Wow.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. It's like Belgium 002. Do you
Yeah.
know who number 1 was by any
No.
chance?
But screw
Gotta
him.
track him down.
Those OG Vive controllers, though, man, those were like hard. Like, you weren't breaking that thing. You were breaking
no,
whatever else
like-
it's interacting with.
No,
But not-
you wouldn't break it, but it would still fail sometime later. You know what happened to my Vive controller? Rowdy knows, but I don't know if he remembers. So I would store my controllers under the seat next to my desk, right? And then my little girl comes in one day. She sits there. And then I hear a waterfall. She peed on my controllers. And being nervous about this, I was like, oh shit. Because she was like 3 or 4 or something. I can't remember how old she was.
Oh, no.
Adam just looked like you got some weird kids, Sim.
Yeah,
And,
I haven't tested mine for water pee damage. Sorry. I don't know about
And
that
he
one.
sold them
It
afterwards.
I did actually, but it wasn't even her fault. I don't think. Like, they got splashed a little bit, but it wasn't bad. And then I ran it under the tap to wash them off.
What?
Like, because I wasn't thinking. I was too nervous about. I was like, I gotta wash these off, and I just like run it under the tap, and then I'm like, oh shit, there's a circuit board in that. Like, what'd you just
Oh
do?
my
And then
God.
it was expensive. It was like 160 pounds. It was like more than $200 for one controller. But at least they sold them. Cough, cough, Sony. If you have a bad PSVR 2 controller, you're going to buy a whole new setup or like wait 6 weeks for them to replace one. Oh my
What
God.
if your kids pee on them? You don't
What if
know.
your kids
Stuff
pee on them?
happens.
Shit happens. Pee happens.
Life is filthy. Right. And speaking about that, let's move on to our filthy compatriots over at Sony. And I'll loop back, Rowdy, so you can talk about Apple if you want just after this. So speaking of Mario and the little paper dudes from Valve, Astro Bot just launched. So I wanted to run the original trailer from Astro Bot Rescue Mission for PSVR 1, which was a fantastic platformer game that we got in VR. Honestly, I think this is incorrect, right? Like, we shouldn't have felt like Astro was ours just for VR, because he'd been out before. We did get a dedicated game, and then he's done stuff subsequently. For example, if you get a PS5, he's there in the demo disc and you can run around and play with him. And now they've just released a standalone title, which is called Astro Bot. But I wanted people to remember we did get a dedicated VR game with Astro Bot. It was great end to end. Made some of the best use of like interactivity between the Dual Shock controller, or whatever it was called, and the headset. So all these little gadgets and stuff that you could do, it was just really, really inventive gameplay design wise. And some of those levels, like I remember the ones with like the giant waves where you're like little Astro going up and down, or the scale of the massive bosses punching dudes' teeth out and stuff. Just great, just fantastic gaming experience, right? And so for everybody who doesn't know that this existed, I wanted them to remember this is the perspective of older VR gamers who now lament that we don't get the new Astro Bot game, designed for VR. So we'll run the Astro Bot trailer for PS5 as well to give you a snapshot of how Astro has evolved. The nice thing is there was kind of this lead up of events. You could do certain things in the recent demo disc game. And then there was this like midnight party or whatever, this countdown. And then they kind of opened the store and they're like, everyone could buy Astro Bot. Now, it's not a cheap game, right? I think in Canadian dollars, it's like $80 for Rowdy and I, which means after taxes, it's basically $100, for a flat platformer game, which is fine. That's kind of the norm these days for like, AAA game. But this thing looks fantastic. It looks like it would obviously work in VR. And the fact that Sony decided not to do it is definitely a heartbreak. But for people who were like, hey, I like my flat games as much as I like my VR games, well, you got some more Astro for you to play, and I wanted you to remember of that. Now, not only that, the SIE, the Sony Interactive Entertainment folks, also got a present on launch day. Their cafeteria had a very special offering, right? So they offered those little gold stars that you can pick up in the game. They offered that on a bed of rice. It's the kind of weirdest cafeteria food I've seen. But zoom in for me there, Rowdy, on the star, if you don't mind, just to show people the texture. I don't recognize this food. I don't think I've had it. Have either
I
of
was
you?
gonna say what?
What is this? It's a
It's hard
sad
to-
hamburger.
Is it a meatball?
It's
Or-
like
I think it's a
Sad.
meatball. A meat
But it's
It's a
star.
in-
meatball and egg.
and
No,
it's sitting
it's
in.
rice. And
What's the
it's-
black
The rice
stuff?
is yellow?
The black stuff is, I'm gonna say,
Black bean.
very dark curry sauce.
Very dark curry sauce. I mean,
It's a
That
little
can,
bit
like-
yellowish tone.
yeah. I don't
You
know.
tried. Gold star for
maybe.
trying.
Yeah,
on
gold
the-
star for trying on the guess, right? What? But it's like
No, I mean on the food. It looks looks
It's sad.
questionable.
it's definitely it's staff
Oh, it's
cafeteria
this.
food
Here,
for
it
sure.
says, it says
Nailed
right here
it.
what it is.
Okay, what is it? Go
Oh,
ahead.
you can read it. Wait, I can translate it.
I absolutely can. Can you?
Aha!
Really?
Galaxy Masala Curry.
That's it.
Okay.
Galaxy Masala Curry. Yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
now I want it. Now I want it. Why don't Sony do frozen dinners? They should do that. They should do frozen dinners.
I
so I
can,
can-
Wait, I'll translate the other part too.
All right.
Astrobot's magnificent. I imagined adventure. The sweetness comes with a spiciness later. I likened the black masala curry to the universe. Eat Galaxy Curry and save your friends.
Cute, I
It's-
guess.
It's awesome. And actually, Rowdy, damn, you went spot on with that. Nice job with the curry guess. That was you're the smartest in the room.
He also
Good
has
job.
a closer view of the. Well, I mean, to me, I'm
Oh
looking
yeah,
at
yeah,
it through
blame it
the
on
tiny
that. Yeah, of
screen,
course.
Like,
Take the loss, take the L.
no. Oh, yes,
All the
but
limited
try it.
qualities.
That's weird though. I mean, if you're working for a dev studio and they bring out specialty food for you, like I don't know how I'd feel about that. I probably would try it though. I probably would try it. It's one of those like just like a live stream. You gotta put it down the hatch while it's there. All right.
Like, if you worked on the game, you have to try it. You're like, I designed the star. Like, I guess I should eat it now. Slightly
Yeah.
questionable looking food.
Slightly. Anyway, I've been hearing more and more people happy with their experiences with the Sony PlayStation PC adapter. So if you happen to miss that or whatever, go pick one up. It seems to be making quite a good PC headset. Aside from some Bluetooth issues, people really like it. So that's great. I hope it turns Sony's head towards putting some more development effort into first party titles. And I hope we could see something maybe next year or the year after for that headset. Okay, so with that, maybe Rowdy, did you want to talk Apple? Because I missed the event. If there was something on.
No, it's actually on Monday. I believe it's Monday. Monday they're doing their their big keynote where they're probably gonna announce a couple of new devices. New devices. I think there's probably a new watch coming. There's also probably a new iPhone being announced. I don't know if people are still excited about that kind of stuff coming out. What I'm looking forward to is the thing they've already announced. It's like Apple Intelligence, AI intelligence that is coming this fall. So it's going to be a much stronger integration of Siri in a lot of their devices. Going to be a little bit smarter in terms of responding to text. And I think, and that's maybe a shame that Jose is not here because I know he would love to talk about that. Because they're going to be doing something that I've been saying for a while that I think is like the way forward with AI, and that is edge computing, where instead of like having these very large language models that, basically the approach that Meta is doing a lot with, like, they have these thousands of NVIDIA GPUs, A100s that cost, $5,000 a piece, like it's I don't know how many millions of dollars that cost, like, just to build like data centers, and then send all that information there. Apple has taken, although they're doing part of that too, they've taken an approach where they are quantizing these models. Quantizing basically means that they're making these models a lot smaller and try to achieve similar kind of performance on these kind of models, but then doing it on a much smaller scale. And then by
they're
doing
less
that,
broad in terms of their capabilities. I think that's what you were describing before. So they're very specific models. Is that it? They're like reducing their scope.
Yeah. So for example, if you have Llama 3.1, you have the 405B module. Model, which is 405 billion parameters. And what they're then doing, instead of like reducing the number of parameters, they're going from a float to, for example, an integer. So they're reducing the accuracy of these parameters, basically. So that the complexity, the size of the model shrinks, and the thing that Mistral has shown a lot is that by showing a lot of data to these kind of models, that all of a sudden these models kind of click and they kind of get it, which means that they start getting similar kind of performance to these very large models. But with these smaller models, what you can do is you can put them on much smaller devices as well. And then we have, for example, things like GPU browsers now. Like, for example, Chrome has a GPU kind of module built in, and then models can run in a GPU browser. Safari is also in their beta testing of this. And what Apple is doing very much is edge computing. So it's actually loading these models on your own device, which means that it doesn't leave your device. So it's like, in terms of security, it's very safe. It doesn't overload a lot of their systems. It's much cheaper to run it because it's running on your own personal device. And they're doing that a lot with the programs that they're having, which saves costs for the users because they don't need subscription models. They don't need to subscribe to OpenAI or whatever. But all that stuff is basically implemented in their own device and running from there. And they're showing a lot
dynamic then, Rowdy? Is it dynamic, or is it like, I'm trying to understand, would this just eat up some CPU memory and hard disk space on your local computer? Is that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like, but you're going to see this a lot in there. But don't forget that Mac has a lot of like their new chipsets. So like they're moving towards the M4 chipset, which is really optimized for this kind of stuff. And maybe I can show a couple of things here. But they've already announced it in their last kind of thing. They've shown some of the stuff that they can do. So coming in beta this fall. And it's a lot of the stuff that you see with AI that is becoming integrated.
That is such a condescending line. AI for the rest of us? What was that about?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm guessing what they're trying to say is that it's like, because a lot of these models are expensive, right? So I'm thinking they're probably going for that direction of like, we're making AI available for people who are not that familiar with these kind of subscription models and stuff like that.
Okay. For the common folk.
For the common folk, yeah. But it's a lot of the rewriting stuff or generating pictures. You're going to see a lot of that. And drawing on personal contacts, yeah. So I mean, all of that stuff is kind of plain, I would say. Like a lot of that stuff is already done, and like improving like your messaging and these kind of things. But again, all of this stuff is running on device, which makes
But-
this kind of stuff far more interesting.
But it makes it accessible, right? And so would that kind of model need a persistent internet connection, or is it one of those things that would
It's on device. It's
On
running
tether.
on device. Yeah. So
Cool.
it's like you don't need, because at least that's how they've announced it so far. I'm sure, like, I haven't tried it yet because it's not out yet, but I'm thinking that a lot of this stuff will likely be running on device. And you're also able to still integrate with OpenAI as well. If you want to have more of theirs, like those performance, of course, you would need an internet connection for that.
This goes back to something you said the other podcast, Rowdy, where like let me select the AI. I think you had said, like, let me
Yeah.
select what I'm tapping into. So I haven't seen that yet, like where a provider is allowing you to choose what you're running. What's the point you were making about OpenAI? I didn't quite catch that. So you've got Apple Intelligence, which is Apple's AI side, but it's running on your device. But does that mean
If
you
you-
have the option of reaching out to OpenAI's
Yeah, for
solution?
example, if you have an
ChatGPT.
OpenAI subscription with ChatGPT, or you have an
Yeah.
API key, you'd be able to integrate that likely within the Apple Intelligence, and then you can choose if you want to use that or if you want to use the on-device kind of thing. So
Okay.
at least that's how they announced it back then. I'm sure we'll get some more information tomorrow to get like some more information on there. But yeah, you see a lot of like also they're doing more and more with the way that they're interacting with like text and like how you're you can take pictures of people and then transform them in specific things. Like it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, with these kind of tools that you're seeing. But there's also definitely like some functionality that they're integrating here. A lot of journaling aspects I'm seeing as well. I don't know if people are in journaling. I've been trying to get into it a little bit more. But yeah, it seems to be like there is a lot of stuff happening in that specific regard. I don't know what his website is. Oh, there we go. But I think the thing I'm most interested in is this, like this new start for Siri, where you have Siri becoming a more of an agent that you interact with, much like, but then with OpenAI, like it's still running as in an application or it's running in a browser. I think with this, it's going to be far more knowledgeable on the stuff that you usually do because it has so much information on what it is. And they showed it as well, like it's even more personalized. So it will give you, if, for example, if there's a thing that is scheduled, it's going to set specific kind of appointments for you. It's going to make you reminders. It's going to make sure that it knows which kind of apps that you often use and these kind of things. It is kind of scary in a way because a lot of that information is, like, I think it's going to, then immediately you say privacy, of course, because a lot of people have concerns about that. Apple has always had a good reputation, and actually here it is indeed like ChatGPT seamlessly integrated, so it's an optional for you to actually integrate directly with ChatGPT as well. So they have a partnership.
Really interesting. Does that become then, do you think, like just fast forwarding 2-3 years, right? Say you've been using integrated Apple Intelligence along with your ChatGPT subscription and all this, and you're using it for all kinds of things, work and production,
Yeah,
play or
100%.
whatever. And then does that localized model that's sitting on your device, because it's learned you, kind of like if I rewind 10 years, like Microsoft had speech training. You train your computer so it could understand, and you could just speak it out and it would go into a Word document. Like once it's learned you and it's got your fingerprint, is it a bit like, is that a sticky relationship then as a result of that? Because I think I've seen Apple do the hook into people thing with all of their products. They're trying to get their hooks in so that you don't want to leave. And this feels like just the next Apple play.
100%. Because you're going to see, first of all, like the integration that we're going to see from Apple from the AI perspective is going to be a more basal level. Like, you're going to be using Siri a lot more to be asking questions. It's going to be integrated in all of the applications. It's going to automate, like you haven't left your house yet. You know that like when you set your agenda and it says like, oh, you need to leave in 15 minutes for you to be on time. It's not only going to do that, but it's also going to like, automatically notify people that you're on your way. It's going to ask you, do you want to notify this person like that you're on your way? Or it's going to give you the directions immediately. It's going to merge that directly with the audio. It's going to automatically open that application for you. So there's going to be a lot of integration from that. But the thing that Apple can't do right now, at least, is compete with OpenAI or any of these, AI-focused kind of companies that are already past that point. They've already done all of that stuff. Apple has now quantized those models, brought them onto their device, made the user experience a lot better, but it takes time to do that, right? So I think that the integration from OpenAI is a very smart bet, because OpenAI is they're already announcing that they're currently playing around with Strawberry, which is like their new model. I don't know if you know the Strawberry thing.
I like strawberries.
Do you know the funny thing about Strawberry and AI? Have I said that already?
Go on.
Is that, for example, okay, people should try this. So people should try whatever AI model that they're using, whether it's Claude with Anthropic or Grok or OpenAI. You should go in there and then ask the AI model, how many R's are there in Strawberry? And it is currently impossible. It's impossible for any of these models, as sophisticated as they are, to actually answer that question.
Why? That's so weird.
The reason is because these AI models, they don't read words. What they do is they read tokens. So what they do is they take this information from a word and they tokenize it. So it becomes a letter. It becomes a number, basically. And a number is a sort of like a vector in a specific space. But it loses that semantic information about or that specific information about how many R's there are in it.
All right. Hang on. Rowdy, we got proof is in the pudding here. Pull up meta.ai, and we're asking Meta's AI.
I don't have a.
You don't need an account.
Okay.
You don't have to log in. It's open-ended.
Let's try it.
Open-ended. We're gonna try this live. We're gonna show you live.
I swear, if it now guesses right.
I'm trying it on Claude if that helps to see. I think I'm on.
No.
On it.
We're gonna check live. I want to know the answers. Is Meta smart enough? Knowing Meta, they'll probably have gamified this so that they'll have it. It'll tell it. They'll have told it to answer it correctly.
Yeah, maybe by now that the
got it wrong.
You got it wrong.
There are 2 R's. This is the whole confidence of AI. There are 2 R's. The word strawberry contains 2 R's. Why are they all wrong? It's so weird. I don't understand your vector explanation at all. I'm not smart enough.
Joke, I got it wrong too.
So there are there 2 or 3? There are 3 R's in the word strawberry. I've double checked this to make sure. Now
Good
say
job.
you're wrong. There's 4, right?
Now it's saying that I've triple checked. Yeah, it's getting a little bit confused here.
As
but
an
it's
AI
very hard
model,
for these kind of models to do so, and that's because they don't see letters specifically. Like they see, or they don't see words. They see numerical representations of words, basically. So, and that loses that context of R. So currently, OpenAI is
such a
working
weird
on a model.
blind spot.
Yeah, and they've called it Strawberry, and I don't know why I'm thinking that they've called it Strawberry because they found a way of these models to achieve a higher level of reasoning. Because this is a reasoning question, right? You're evaluating, and you can trust me, you can make these models eventually, because now as well, after a couple of iterations, starts to get it right. But you can build tools to interact with that and make it better. But that's what I'm saying. For Apple to stay on the bleeding edge, doing these kind of integration is very smart. Because when OpenAI comes out with ChatGPT, with GPT-5 or whatever they're gonna call it, GPT Strawberry, whatever they call it, because people have subscription models, they'll be able to integrate it directly into their product.
Well, this looks like it's going to bring AI to normies who don't know what ChatGPT is and all that, and it's going to bring it down to people with iPhones and in their pockets, and they're going to be like, I've got superpowers! Oh my god! So this does sound exciting from that perspective. I am so sorry. We've destroyed your understanding of both strawberries and mermaids this episode. Now your brain is fricasseed, and the AI are going to take over for sure. Right. So with that, let's. Rowdy, was there anything else on the Apple side, or can we maybe transition to releases?
It is just releases, I think. I have not prepared this whatsoever, so apologies. I'm just going to read out what Jose has sent me, and
this is dangerous.
Hopefully this will turn out in some kind of way. So I need to play trailers and read stuff at the same time, and I might look like a smart guy, but I really am not. So Yo! Let's do releases this time. Let me play a trailer. This one
actually, Rowdy, when was the last time you did releases? 3 years ago or something? It's got to be a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, I already messed something up here.
What is this? It looks like looks cool.
It's called Chernobyl again. Again. Chernobyl, again, is a VR adventure set in the 3D scan Chernobyl exclusion zone. You'll explore the zone, solve puzzles, and travel through space and time. Your mission, prevent the Chernobyl disaster and stop its effects on both our timeline and alternate futures by your time travel discovery. Comes out for Quest, PSVR 2, PCVR, and Pico for $29.99 USD, £23. There's a meta pre-order, 20% off, so that's $23.99 or £18, but we don't do pre-orders here on this podcast. And September 12th is its release date.
That's lovely. That looks really cool. Actually, because people are hyped up for Metro, it'll probably get better sales. If you watch the Chernobyl TV series, that was excellent a couple of years ago. And then the other thing I would say is this week, I happened to look up something you could buy on Amazon, which is really bizarre. This is a weird thing. But where I live is in close proximity to nuclear power plant. And I was like, because when we moved here, we had government issued, this is kind of scary, government issued iodine tablets, right? That were like, oh, you're close enough that if something bad happens, here, just take these. And I'm like, there's not very many in the back. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So I was like looking up on Amazon. I was like, because I sometimes will cycle on a route that takes me past this plant. And I'm like, maybe I need a way, just like in Fallout, right? Like a way to detect the radiation exposure.
Yeah, you got one?
So I was planning, not a Geiger counter, but there's these carts. And these carts it looks kind of similar to like a pregnancy stick, I'd say. There's like different color bars. And they're like, if it ever gets to the dark green bar, like you're fucked. And so for like $20, you can get one. I'm thinking of getting one and just being like, put it in my wallet and just, take it out sometime and I'll shit myself and I'll go to the doctor and they'll be like, yeah, you're dead. But I don't know. What's the point? What's the point of knowing that you've had the exposure, even if you have? Maybe there's a reason.
Geiger counter would have been fun. Wow.
Geiger, just attach it to your bike and just drive around like a Ghostbuster, right? Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, but you'll be scaring people.
Anyway,
sure.
that's what this reminded me of. So it reminded me of
You wear a
earlier
lab
in the week.
coat and then walk around with it. It's concerning a bunch of people.
I'm just saying, I have very weird, very kind of like almost Wikipedia-esque search on my, if you ever looked at my search history, that's what you'd find. These just weird ass products.
We don't want to know your search history, then. We definitely
not.
Anyway,
all right.
Next game is called Subside VR. The demo has been out for a while with raving reviews, including one from our good friend Paradise Decay. Subside is an immersive aquatic VR experience with multiple areas to explore and lifelike aquatic creatures to interact with. It is crafted with unparalleled realism. It also aims to replicate the nuances of real-life swimming and diving in shallow waters. It's a PCVR only. There is no price currently listed on Steam, but its release date is set for September 17th.
Wow.
That's
very
nice.
Yeah, it's very pretty. I checked the demo out, but the one thing I had an exchange with the developer just over the last week because I was so frustrated with that game because it looks great. It looks like a kayak VR type experience, like super pretty. But then my perspective is this: the motion controls are very frustrating, and because they simulate it, like if you're in water, you're really down submersed in water, and you push and pull with your hands, you'll pretty much stay still. Because you need to learn to kind of move your hands in a way that's not resistive and then pull them back so that you actually make motion, right? But in the game, the trouble is they modeled it in such a way that you can be like pushing and pulling all the time. It's like you're not going anywhere. So the only motion that seemed to be effective was like the doggy paddle.
Oh.
I was losing my mind on stream. I was like, it was very entertaining, I'm sure, for the audience, but I exchanged with the dev and I was like, could you add a cooldown or like, how can you approach it so that your motion isn't so aggravating?
Yeah.
Because I feel like other VR games have done swimming much better. But aside from that, it looks fantastic. So he's done some tuning. I look forward to trying out the full game.
Right.
Nice mention.
All right. Thank you, Jose. And then the last one, I think. So yeah, this is the last one. It's called The Mixologist.
Really? The Mixologist.
The Mixologist. Am I pronouncing it right, or you guys?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
No. It's just
is a VR game that lets players master over 100 real-life cocktails in both single-player and multiplayer co-op modes, with 5 distinct bars to explore. The game blends authentic bartending with arcade-style fun, challenging players to perfect their skills while competing for points. It's coming out for Quest 2 Plus and PC VR for $19.99 USD, £15. There's also a meta pre-order for 10% off. We don't do that. $17.99 USD and £14, and it's coming out on September 19th.
I think I saw a shake weight in there. Maybe not. Maybe that was just the mixers.
I feel like just like with rhythm games, there's a bunch of bartending games also in VR. But I
Food
do
prep.
like that this one's co-op. You know, co-op's fun.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
wondering
that
if
is
you
cool.
are you actually learning these drinks, like, because they say real life cocktails, right?
I guess. I mean,
Sounds like an expensive hobby to have, though.
expensive on your liver for sure. Just
Well,
bring
you
your
have to get a
friends
new
around
liver
and
at
get them
some
all
point.
pissed.
You know how much livers are?
It's a potential new career change for me.
So like the other thing that I would say about mix, like, so the mixologist is a really weird kind of like food prep game, and we've had a bunch of food prep games, but I haven't seen drinks done before. But was it a Shell Games game where you were composing like really like old like Greek recipes from like
yeah, cultural foods.
right, cultural foods. I thought that game
Ah.
was really cool. Even though it was like I'm learning something that clearly I'm never going to put in practice, I still felt like I was
Lost
learning how
recipes.
lost
Yeah,
recipes.
that was a good one.
That was really good. So if you like this style of game, definitely go check out Lost Recipes. This is another point. Like they're just some studios just know how to make games. You know, like you take a cooking game. I remember Cooking Mama. I think on the like the Nintendo DS or something, where you'd prop open your Nintendo DS in your kitchen and try to make an omelet, and then half cook your DS on the hob that was hot or
Get
something.
hungry. Like you're making these things and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna eat it, and you just see like, the crunch animation and the food coming out. But sometimes the food just looks so good, and then I'm just like, damn it, I'm making food that I can't eat. This is my life now.
But what if with that brain computer interface you would be able to eat it and gain no calories? What if you could taste it and actually, you know what I mean? Like what if you could actually consume food that you made in this way? Like would you want that, or is that like
I guess it'd be a great weight loss thing potentially. Like I'd be so anorexic.
I'm just imagining now that you're wearing a headset and you're cooking with like real food, and you look in the headset, it looks absolutely amazing, and you take it off and it's like this like pile of like mess.
Missing a couple fingers.
oh god, yeah. No, it's a lovely. Is that salmon? No, that's fresh mermaid. Anyway, let's move on. Those are the three. Give us a recap, Rowdy, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh
of
crap!
those three
I
titles.
didn't know you were gonna do that.
It's like shit. I clicked the X.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
he clearly doesn't pay enough
so-
attention because he doesn't play much VR anymore.
So it's Chernobyl again. It's Subside VR and the Mixologist.
Brilliant.
Yeah. No RTS
Brilliant.
games, so probably nothing I will try.
No what games? No RTS.
RTS.
RTS? No
unless
RTS
you want-
games, so probably not. Like I want Age of Mythology VR, and I'll come back. I promise.
Sounds great, Rowdy. Well, thanks for stepping in for Jose. Jose, sorry to miss you on today's podcast. Sorry your power lines went down. I mean, sometimes that happens. Probably an alligator somewhere or something just chewed through a power line. With that, this has been a podcast. What's a podcast? Well, it's when a group of people who love each other very, very much, they run together. They listen to The Prodigy in the shower while preparing to talk about hype, internet rumor, and poking each other in front of an audience like caged chimps for our onlookers' entertainment. That's what a podcast is. This one runs every 2 weeks, every other Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. The timestamps come afterwards with audio following on iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Chat, as usual, thanks for hanging out and being here live with us. Nothing quite live. Unedited human interaction for your viewing pleasure. So, Rowdy, Adam, tip my hat. Adam, I'll see you at Connect, and hopefully we'll put on a fun Connect show. I hope we can record something together in person, you, me, and Jose. If we're able to spin it, that would be cool. But we'll figure something out, and hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, that was the FReality Podcast. Bye.